Hi, I'm here with Piper Makepeace of Heart of the Matter Retreats. Piper, I'm so glad you could carve out a few minutes with me today.
I love spending time with you, Eric.
Yeah, well, so people know before I hit record here, Piper and I were talking about the different stuff that's coming up with COVID and all the stress that people are going through. And one of the big things that you mentioned, Piper, is anxiety. And then one thing I wanted to mention, so I work with a lot of clients every week in my private practice for therapy. Another big part of it is this almost disgust with how culture is going right now. Like there's like, the stuff that's going on with the police situation and the stress around Black Lives Matter and the political situation. I have a lot of clients coming in saying, wow, I just can't even stand what's going on in our world right now. So there's that piece. And then I feel like there's a big grief piece too, that people are feeling like, gosh, we've lost so much with this. And a lot of folks are feeling like I don't have a right to have grief because I haven't like had someone die or something really big happen. But when you combine all the little things that we've lost, it feels like a big loss. Like just my daughter is a teenager and she can't go to Red Rocks this summer, and go to concerts. So she's really bummed about that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe those are kind of the big three is anxiety, the loss piece, and then the other piece I just mentioned too about feeling like bummed out about our culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. So since you run retreats and I know you just checked in with your folks, about what to offer at future retreats. What did you guys come up with?
Yeah. I think you're right about these three big ones,
Mm.
that people are dealing with. I have the same experience with the people I talk to. And as, as we look toward this next retreat that we're doing, one of the big areas is the anxiety. And I think you were really right, Eric, when you said it's a combination of things, because I think from my experience, part of what happens is there's a buildup inside.
Mm.
It's like one thing happens, okay, we can handle that. Then a second thing, we can handle that. And then as the third, fourth, fifth thing starts to come in, there's like a pile up inside. And one of the things we do in our practice, in our meditation actually, is we do emotional release. And one of the things is screaming into a towel with an intention to really release that pile up, that build up, so that we can get back to a calm place where we can actually think clearly.
Can we
Because
pause there? Because that's so
yes,
juicy.
yeah, yeah,
This is a challenge I've had. I come from this mindfulness background, and
right,
it's always this nice seated posture, and we're going to breathe, and we're really going to be in touch. And I've had clients say to me, and myself lately being just affected by all that's going on, it's hard to just sit still with all the crap you're feeling. Because it
yeah,
is like I draw a glass of water sometimes for my clients with a little line of where the water is. And
right,
sometimes we're waking up right now at 80% full, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So it sounds like screaming is one of those things that you could do into a towel that's more visceral and raw.
yes.
It really down the road because people have pressure on themselves that know, oh, I should meditate, but maybe we should be doing things first before we think we can just sit still with all this.
That's the way we teach it, Eric, exactly. Because if we can release the emotional buildup, then our system naturally starts to calm down. And
Mm.
then we can do this more mindfulness type of meditation without, plus the mind gets really, really busy with all the subjects that we're talking about. And it's connected with the emotions from the way that we've experienced it over the years. There's generally an emotional component to what's going on in our head. So if you
Mm.
release the emotions, the mind also calms down, and we can just think more clearly about the subjects in our life we got to figure stuff out about.
Mm-hmm. So with this screaming thing, you would just find somewhere quiet and safe where no one's going to hear you. And then a towel, maybe, I know you can hurt your vocal cords if you really go for it without a towel. So you put that there and then, and just really let it out.
Yeah. And we teach it, really from the belly, so you're not screaming from your throat. You're like from deep within, you're like reaching in there and pulling out the stuff and really letting it go. And
Mm.
that's a big key, the letting it go part. And the other thing, Eric, that you might like, or anybody who wants to try this, we use music too. So you can put on any kind of music that kind of matches the mood you're in. So if you're, if you're really up to here and you just need some hard rock or, Metallica or something like that, you just put it on, and you can also move your body and kind of rock out while you scream. And that tends to just open something. Oftentimes it will open also to some deep tears. Sometimes it's hard to get to the crying because our hearts are just kind of like trying to survive in this world. But what we really need to do is a really, really deep cry. The
Mm.
grief you mentioned just a few minutes ago. I think sometimes I feel like the screaming is like cracking the eggshell. And once the whole system is moving, then we can get to these deeper tears.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a question too, Piper, about, I studied with Lisa Wimberger at Neurosculpting Institute. And one of the big things to like regulate your nervous system that she taught me and I share with others is like humming. But I've noticed that I want to get it more down into the gut. Don't,
Yeah.
and what's the sound? Or do you do humming ever to get down into the gut and like move stuff around, or what other techniques, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think humming is great. Any kind of sound. I'll make all different kinds of sounds to help move that. And um, something about the voice, using the voice, because I think also in our life, we've just shut down so many times. Many times, something happens and we don't speak.
Mm.
So that part of ourselves has been kind of repressed or pushed down. So when we use our voice, it opens up, that part that's been repressed. And humming, yeah, anything that we're doing with the voice. And I think just continuing to put that attention on what you were saying, like that deep kind of gut
Mm.
place, it's like almost like a bringing it up and letting it move through the voice.
And then, any other ideas to, well, actually, to address something that I know I do personally, and I bet a lot of people do, is I've been practicing for a while. I should have this figured out by now. What do you say to people that feel like, oh, I should be able to handle this? Because what's going on in our world right now is a lot to handle.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you say to people that think there's something wrong with them if they're feeling a lot right now?
Yeah. We're human beings and we were designed to feel.
Mm.
Emotions are a very natural part of being a human being. We don't want to shut those things down because then we become numb and kind of more, automaton. But our emotions are a big part of who we are, and what helps us connect with other people. So I think having acceptance for the emotions and realizing it's so natural as a human being to have emotions.
Mm.
And so many of the emotions connect back with the heart, which connects with love, which
Mm.
is, I think, what we all want more than anything, you
Yeah.
know?
So accepting the way that we're feeling instead of trying to like think your way out of it, maybe.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yes, because we can't think our way out of our feelings. It's like apples and oranges.
Hmm. I think some people lately seem to feel like if they can just be angry enough at the system, or just put enough energy into their like social media posts to like change things, that then they'll somehow won't have to feel. Um, right? It's like a very almost aggressive response, or almost like I'm gonna change this thing, but it feels like there's a missing step of feeling. I've been trying to get to the heart of that. Like first we need to feel it. A good friend of mine said something like, everyone wants to let it go, but first we have to have it. So first we have to accept and feel it before what would you add to that? Or
I mean, I agree with you. I think too, Eric, I think a lot of that aggressive kind of what you were describing, I think it's a way to not have to deal with what we're feeling inside of ourselves. I think it's a coping mechanism in some ways, but we've got to deal with it's like we got to deal with what's going on in ourselves. It's like take care of our own home first before we start pointing at the neighbors' homes.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of points to our third thing of how people are feeling pretty grossed out by culture lately, or politics. Any ideas around how to deal with those feelings of? It feels to me like folks are almost saying to me in therapy, like, if these 8 things would change in the world, if all those things would just be okay, then I'd be okay. And what I know as a 40-something-year-old guy that's been through life enough is, even if some of those things were resolved, something else is going to pop up externally. So I guess, what's your advice for, like, I don't know, not like letting things just happen and not making change. Like, I'm never advocating for just looking the other way.
Yeah.
Because someone said to me, she's a yogi, and she said, I'm not just going to own my way through this. Like, in other words, I want to be proactive. So I guess, how do you feel, but also make change,
Yeah. Well, that's where I think, the like the things we've been talking about, I think really facing what's going on in ourselves, whether it's disgust or anger or grief, and really moving through it ourselves to where we can get to a place of, I would say, compassion, you know,
Mm,
to get to a place of compassion for our leaders, our, even the people who are, acting in ways that we would say are really ugly, and knowing that everybody's in pain.
mm,
Everyone's in pain, and people act out of pain. Not that it's right, not that we should condone it, but to see, these are actions born of pain that's not being dealt with.
mm.
And,
These are actions that are caused by pain that's not being dealt with.
that's what I see.
Mm, that seems very true. Huh. And then, so say we look out in the world and see politicians that may trigger us. Um, then if we don't want to feel our own pain, we may actually mistakenly contribute to the problem more by making a post maybe on social media, or showing up in a way with our kids or family that we're irritated or we're angry. Um, so if we really want to see more peace in the world, um, it's kind of predictable that I would say this, but there's that saying, "Be the change you want to see in the world" by Gandhi, right?
Yeah.
But it's true, right? Like we really, if our leaders aren't willing to be with their discomfort, or whoever's putting out this painful stuff in the world, or the people around racism, or they're putting their unfelt crap into the world. It's like, isn't it like we just have so much emotion and pain inside that it eventually overflows? Like Thich Nhat Hanh says that, I think, like, of course it would overflow to others. But
Yes.
now, if we want to make the change in the world of peace, then don't we need to attend to our own pain? And then, like my little glass of water example, kind of bring it down.
Yeah.
And then we have some space, don't we, for to make change, and to have compassion, maybe.
Yes. I think you're right on. I know, when I first started doing, I did a mindfulness type of meditation first before I did what I'm doing now. And when I first did it, they encouraged us to just really go to the depths of the pain.
Mm.
And, and it was in a longer retreat, so I had the time to really do that. And once I got to, to like a certain point, something about the circumstances of what I thought was causing that pain, it started to fall away, and the pain started to turn into love.
Mm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was it was really the most profound moment of my life to see that if you really face it and feel it deeply enough, there's a place where pain literally transforms into love. And it wasn't a mental thing. Nobody was saying those words, but it was like a full body experience of it. And I think that's the trick, is when we say be the change, part of the be part, I think part of the be, how do we be that, is we go deep enough. We go deep enough within to where something really does transform. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Oh, completely. And after this, I want to ask you, why are we all so scared to go there? uh,
Yes.
but I had an experience in my practice where I was all alone. I was in a safe place, and practicing. And I just felt, finally I went there, you know, and I really sat with the pain. And I remember just sobbing and really letting it out. And I remember experiencing that pain as all the pain that's ever been from all the wars of all times. It was amazing, actually. And then I never could put my finger on it. You know, after you really are raw and you let it out, I really did feel tuned into the deepest place of love and compassion that I've ever felt, probably.
Yeah.
So apparently we're pointing to something that is doable and real.
Yes.
Why the heck are we all so scared? To be honest, I even find myself with clients holding back a little bit when I feel that they're really on the edge of experiencing some deep, deep pain, because I think, to be honest, I'm a little scared of my own.
Uh-huh.
uh,
Uh-huh.
so what's your advice on that? Like, to go for it and feel it, because there's such a reward.
Yes. I think you're, I
What's
think
the
you,
fear about? What is?
well, I think you touched on a couple really good things. One, I think the fear is, well, one, you know, we're conditioned from birth to have everything be okay, everything happy, everything nice, you know, don't show the negative emotions. So there's a lot of conditioning in there that has us not want to go there, I think.
I feel like ashamed to even admit that I felt that level of pain. And that's
Exactly.
because, right, I've been culturally conditioned to not let them see you sweat, like that old commercial. Yeah.
Totally. Totally. And then, you know, what I was saying with the screaming into the towel, one way to break through the fear is to scream, literally scream through the fear. And but I think you also brought up another really good point, and that is being in a safe enough container to where you know you can do it. You feel held. You feel like you're not alone with it. You, a lot of people are afraid if they open that Pandora's box, it'll never stop, right?
Yes, yes, that's what it feels like. But it does move through,
It
and it's
does.
so rewarding. If you really are
Exactly.
with it fully, it can move through in 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it
And
feels so good after.
it does. It feels like, yeah, it feels like, I remember when that happened, I remember feeling like I was meeting myself for the first time. Because I, like you, I sobbed so deeply and so long to where I felt like whoever I had kind of built myself up to be, or all the masks I'd put on to kind of survive, it was like a towel that had been wrung out.
Mhm.
And I was just, and I was like, oh, I was just me without any of that. And that was a huge turning point. Because who wants to go back and put all those masks back on again?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I wonder, Piper, how do you make your Heart of the Matter retreats like a safe place where people can go there and do this kind of work?
I think one big part is, and you touched on this too, Eric, is that we do our work on a daily basis. You know, and there's because of where I've been willing to go in myself, there's nothing that anybody will go through that I'm afraid to be with,
Mm,
because I've been there myself, you know.
mm.
And all of us who hold that and set that retreat, we I think just energetically we bring it, and there's a safety that people resonate with, whether they can put words to it or not, you know.
Right. The container just feels safe.
Yeah, like
And the
when I
people
met
that
you.
the people who lead the retreats are have all gone to this deep place, so that then everyone that attends feels that energy and safety.
I think so. I mean,
Oh,
it was the
cool.
same when we had our first call, and I just immediately I knew I could just talk to you about anything, because I could feel without you having said it, you've done your work, you know, and you continue to do your work, and
Yeah,
you know, and you're
it's
willing to
never ending.
right, and you put it out there, and you're honest about it, and it's like, oh, I can trust you, you know, and yeah, and I think too, we really encourage people to be able to say anything, to be able to, you know, talk about the hard things they wouldn't ever talk to anyone else about, and give a lot of encouragement for it, you know. And um, that's, I mean, that's one of the biggest things I hear, which I'm sure you do too, is people say, I've never told this to anyone, you know.
Right.
And the freedom that comes from that, and the emotional kind of volcano that comes in a good way, you know, that comes from that. And yeah.
And then I wonder, how can people like sign up to go to one of your retreats? And just so you know, Piper is on our website too as one of our favorite places to go do retreats. But anything coming up, or any website they can go to, or?
Yeah. Yeah, we have one. We're doing a virtual one in October. We usually, this time of year, we usually do it in person in Denver. But because of COVID, we're doing it on Zoom and stream on October 23rd through 25th. And people can go to our website, heartofthematterretreat.org, and sign up there and find out more.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, I'm gonna put this on my my blog post, and everyone can check it out. And thanks for being with us, Piper.
Thank you. That was great, Eric.